Coach, hey, thanks for joining me today on this Simple Coach to Coach interview. Do appreciate you taking the time. Obviously, my YouTube influencing and my Fields of Dreams at Teal College from last couple weeks has produced some fruit. So grateful we're connecting today. And yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right, Coach. Usually you're a rookie, so I usually start out with these sort of standard question that I have for rookies is, tell me about your soccer journey. How did you end up becoming the head coach at Teal College?
Yeah, so I'm from around the area around Teal. I grew up in Hermitage. My family's not from around here. We're mainly from West Virginia. I'm like the first person probably from out of the state, which is I think typical West Virginia. Um, and so they didn't play soccer really growing up or anything. So whenever I grew up here, got into soccer, really found a love for it. The funny thing was, since we weren't around here, we didn't realize how many schools were around here. I guess I'm live in Hermitage still. I'm 20 minutes from Teal, 20 minutes from Westminster, 20 minutes from Grove City, like 50 minutes from Allegheny and Geneva, which is half the conference that I played in and coach in. So, and we just had no idea, which is so funny now looking back. Yeah, so I played around here. There's not a lot of club opportunities around here, so really was just like going to ID camps, trying to get my name out there when I played. Ended up being grateful enough to get recruited by a few schools around here, and then ended up at Westminster. While I was there, really enjoyed the game. Since I didn't really play club or anything, I kind of just like I was so enamored with just the game in general. I was just anything I could do to absorb it. So Gearish, my coach at Westminster, was grateful. I was grateful enough that he would let me help out him coaching whenever I was playing with his club team. And then fast forward to graduating, I would think I was like any 22-year-old that graduates, where you're like, I don't really know what the heck I'm supposed to do now. So just stayed there, volunteered for a year. We were pretty good that year, so it was a lot of fun. A lot of my friends were on the team, and then it was kind of at the point where maybe I needed some money. So I was like, oh, wow, I don't really want to move in with mom and dad again. So I looked for like GAs, different things, and then saw the Teal opening. I was recruited by them, really liked it there. Obviously, you step foot on the campus. I loved the campus and everything. And so my dad and I went up and yeah, we were like, oh, they've done some additions even since I got recruited here, which would have only been like 4 or 5 years at the time. So whenever there for my interview, hit it off. I think a lot of what I liked about it was that it's very, I guess, malleable to an extent. Like there was just so much opportunity and potential that maybe wasn't unlocked yet. So I could really put my name on it and have an influence. And so was the assistant there for a year or two. And then the head coach, Killian Riley, left. And it was right before COVID. So it was kind of like, I think that no one really knew what the heck was going to happen, and I was grateful enough that they trusted me. I guess as I don't know if it was the right choice as a 24-year-old to say like, hey, you got it. And yeah, fast forward to now, really been able to kind of do everything. But that's kind of the short of it, I guess, if I kept that short. But yeah, that's where we're at now.
So I've been to Westminster as well, and that's another I don't know what I mentioned this to you before. I didn't know what I expected when I walked on campus, and you're like, wow, this is like a gem of a school, and the new turf, soccer, lacrosse, I think, right there, and like it's just really impressive place, again, you're just sort of driving through, and then here you go, and this cool place, like Teal, right, like same thing. But I have to ask you, like, because you are a young coach and you got the job very young. Like, what have been some of your growing pains as a head coach?
There's many. Let me get my list. I think the biggest thing, and I think probably any coach, even at any point when you become a head coach, is just like you think even just about yourself.
Mhm.
What's going to push people, how you want to play all these things, and there's you can only do so much with what you have. And I think that was probably my biggest thing was I had a bunch of ideas. Like I kind of said, like Teal had a lot of potential and still does. I'm really excited with what we're building, but they've never had a lot of success. So, I was the young guy who was like, oh, I got it. Like, I've won 2 conference titles. Like, I can do
Mhm.
this. Um, and I think just having the realism that you can only do with what you have. Like when I did take over, it was during the COVID year, was technically my first year. So I walked into Geneva under the lights with like 14 guys, and 3 of them were keepers. And
Mhm.
I'm sitting there like, we're fine. And then it's like 7-1, and it's like we're
Yeah.
not fine.
Yeah.
So I think like for me, it was just, especially as a young coach, was figuring out how to get the best out of each player, regardless of what they've done in the past, what they will do, like, and really unlocking their true potential. And like, I thought I knew how to do that, especially with like soft skills,
Mhm.
um, and being able to set a standard. But I don't think I still think I'm learning on that. I think the tactical side is 10% of the job.
Yeah.
And everything else is just like getting to know people and understanding. And I think even a lot of the things that I don't think I necessarily knew as a head coach that I'm still learning are all the things off the field when it comes to recruiting and paperwork, which I'm probably not the best with, and I'm very unorganized. Um, and so it's like all those little things, but I think it's like it's lifelong learning, right? And that's what we try to teach our kids too. Like all of our student athletes at any school is the pursuit of learning, whether it's personal or professional.
Mhm.
And so I guess I don't really have like a this is definitely what I've learned as a young head coach, and I probably still am a young head coach. But I think there's just so many different things that like just the process wise, I know some of the things we implemented this spring. I got 2 new assistant coaches, and some of the things we implemented, um, I'm really excited about. I know we're going into the fall with a process board and like putting it up, and that like, yeah, I played at a similar school, and I was a similar age to these guys, obviously, and like I had a similar playing experience, but they don't learn the same way I do, or
Mhm.
little things like that. I think he's a visual learner, he's an auditory learner. So we're doing a process board this fall where we're just gonna say like these are the most important things that we want to do each game. Did we do it? Did it come out into a result? So that way, like, we can at least look at it together and go, oh, okay. Yeah, and even just like going into film, I think I was so excited to learn. And, I think my mother would probably be upset, but my major was soccer. Like that was what I wanted to do. I would sit in class and I'm watching huddle, and I think the realization for me that not every Division 3 player is in sports management class watching huddle. So they have labs, and I didn't take a lab. I was very fortunate. So I think that was the big realization for me of like I said, getting the best out of every single player. Like they're good players, they're really good players, but they might not learn the same or have the same passion or energy to want to do the same. So how can I get the most out of everyone and make sure we're still on the same page? I think that's been my biggest thing, and hopefully I've learned a little bit of it. But yeah, just getting that, making sure we're all a cohesive unit. Um,
It,
yeah,
can I? This just popped into my head, so it's totally not
yeah,
related to what you were saying. Um, you did mention early when you started answering the question that Teal hasn't necessarily had all the success in the past, and like your effort is to obviously try to change that and build something a little bit more recognizable, a little bit more permanent. Can I just ask, is there something to Teal that made that the case? Is it what? Yeah, what was it that has you haven't had the success that you think that I guess I'm trying to figure out. I mean, maybe that's you realize, well, the school realized its potential. Maybe it didn't. I'm just trying to figure out what that gap was, if there was one.
Yeah, I mean that's the pursuit of learning. Like I said, right? That was when I first got here. It was let me deep dive. Why haven't we had success? If we have
Yeah.
this wonderful campus, we have like we've had a
Yeah.
program. I don't know if I could necessarily like pinpoint exactly what it was. I think the biggest thing has just been turnover. We've had really good coaches in the past. Andy Hogarth, the Walsh University head coach,
Mm-hmm.
he used to do camps with me in high school. He was at Teal. Aaron McGinnis, I think he's over at
Mm-hmm.
Virginia Commonwealth now. He was the
Mm-hmm.
women's coach and he was helping out Andy. I think I can't think of the name right now. Kevin, the Slippery Rock head coach, he was at
Mm-hmm.
Teal. So Wilhelm. So like there have been coaches there. I don't know. I think what I've kind of noticed, and I I can't speak for anyone else, is maybe this was like a stepping stone
Mm-hmm.
at certain points for people, right? This is like their first head coach, and it's like, but when the grass, I can see when the grass gets greener, I'm going to take it. And so if you're only getting coaches for 3-4 years, they're not really implementing that culture and style that
Mm-hmm.
maybe will sustain.
Mm-hmm.
And I know even the coach that recruited me there, he had told me in my recruiting process, well, the only time I'd ever leave is to go to my alma mater. And I'm like, okay, great. Well, August 10th, his alma mater closed. So, I remember going into Westminster, going into Teal my freshman year, and I'm like, oh, I had such a good relationship with that coach.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, oh, where the heck is he?
Yeah.
So little things like that, and that goes into like we were talking about earlier. I didn't even realize I could have just Googled like,
Yeah.
oh, he's not there anymore. I didn't realize that we had like a conference website and my schedule was
Mm-hmm.
online. Um, but yeah, I think there's just not been continuity
Mm-hmm.
in terms of the men's soccer side, and there's been success in other athletic teams, and uh, I think there just hasn't been the continuity, and I think I'd probably leave it at that. It's just it's hard to build that culture when it keeps getting kind of deterred.
Reset. Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Your foundation keeps coming out from under you.
Yeah.
Where do I go from now?
Yeah.
And I think when I noticed a lot of the coaches that did come in, um, they were just drastically different from the last coach.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever coach they had before, if I'm a senior and I've had it these standards, then all of a sudden I have these standards, or vice versa. That's completely alien to me.
Yeah.
And so it's just hard. I mean, I'm at the point now where my current seniors going into this fall are the first class I recruited.
Yeah.
It's been 4 years, so like I feel like I've been here an eternity.
Yeah.
But realistically, in the grand scheme of things, like those guys are just now seniors, and
Yeah.
so it's nice this spring that they were able to, okay, this is what we want to do, and as any program, but not having that in the past, I think really led to it. And
Mm-hmm.
they've had, like I said, they've had really good coaches in the past. Um, and I think there was some relative success, I think, in like the early 2010s or mid 2000s, maybe, but never, to my knowledge, a winning record, never a playoff tournament appearance, other than
Mm-hmm.
maybe when the PAC had like 4 teams.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's just been the turnover. That's at least what I've been able to kind of find. I mean, soccer is not huge around Mercer County where we're at, but that hasn't stopped other schools. It
Yeah.
hasn't stopped Grove City, which they have like a national pool, but I mean, they've been phenomenal for years. Westminster's had a lot of success. They're right there. So just trying to unlock that, and hopefully with the continuity we can do that. But I think that's what I would say is just the
Mm-hmm.
turnover
Yeah.
has been what I've noted.
Well, I will say the schools with the most success have had, I'll just say they start for the most part with a linchpin coach who over a long period of time built the foundation out and then had somebody come in that sort of just said, I'm just going to build on this rather than start over when you have so, and most of those successful coaches, for a lot of teams just had double digit
Yeah.
in terms of the number of years that they coach there. And I do think that matters quite a bit. And it's funny because I notice it more from the outside than I ever did from the inside. Like I changed coaches my sophomore year to my junior year, and I didn't think it was a big deal. And it is almost like you're bewildered for a little bit, right? Because you don't know what the expectation is and all that. And so anyhow, it makes sense to me. So I'll have to ask you this follow-up question: under what conditions will you leave? Would you leave Teal? Is it if your alma mater calls you, or um,
Yeah, August 10th, though.
yeah, yeah,
I get that asked that quite a bit. I think probably just because I am a young coach. I
hmm,
think the natural thought is, oh, what are you progressing towards?
yeah, yeah,
How are you going to elevate? And before I got named head coach, I think I was kind of like, I think I'm going to be able to be the head coach. The
yeah,
head coach at the time had told me him and his wife were probably going to move, so it was kind of in the back of my mind
yeah.
that I might have an opportunity here. I had a couple offers from some really top D3s,
Hmm,
some top 25 D3s to be their top assistant,
hmm,
and at that point I was like, maybe I should take these, like a year here and then I can do whatever. I really do love the area though, and
hmm,
I like a challenge. I really like to push myself and kind of like I don't mind putting myself up against the grain kind of thing. So I stayed obviously at Teal, and my parents are like a mile down the road from me,
hmm,
so I like seeing them. My fiance's from the area, so I like it here, and so I've been asked that, and I look at it like, well, I didn't even leave when I wasn't the head coach, so I don't know. Like, I don't really think that I can see myself. I don't necessarily have a 5 year plan. I don't
hmm,
look at it like, oh, I want to be at this point in 5 years or 10 years. Like, um, I do think there's some really cool opportunities. I think, like, yeah, my sister lives in Wilmington, North Carolina. Yeah, if UNCW calls and they're like, hey, like, oh, well, why not?
yeah,
But I really want to put the I don't think I would feel fulfilled unless Teal has some sustainability and continuity,
hmm,
and some success for that matter. I think
hmm,
we've done that off the field in terms of academics and service, and making sure that we have that on the field as well, and a set of standards and pillars to live by, so that we get the program basically as we were talking about, so that
hmm,
it can sustain itself. It doesn't really matter. And then someone can come in and tweak it and make it better. I think
hmm,
I don't think I could see myself leaving until I feel like I'm at that point. And who knows, maybe that will be in 30 years, maybe that'll be in 10 years. But I don't see myself leaving until I feel fulfilled on that point. Obviously anything can change, but yeah, I just don't. I can't leave at the point where it's not better than what I left it.
hmm,
And I think in certain aspects, yeah, it's probably better than where it was. But I'm so competitive. I want wins as well.
hmm.
So it's not at the point where I feel comfortable saying like, yeah, we did it. We finally did it. So yeah, I mean, alma mater would be cool. I mean, they have the brand new turf field that I didn't get to play on that you got to see. So
I
that
didn't
would be
get to
nice.
see it. I didn't get to see the new turf.
Oh,
Like I had just gotten there, I guess, like the next week that yeah, when did
oh,
they
for
agree?
ours.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Oh,
I'm
the
sorry, you're thinking of
Westminster.
Westminster.
Westminster. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I never got to
Westminster.
play on that or coach on it.
Yeah.
So that would be cool.
Yeah.
But no, yeah. I think our turf's getting laid down like as we speak, which is
Yeah.
it was much needed. I'm sure you felt it on your ankles and knees. So
Yeah,
um,
yeah, yeah. You
it
could
was
just
it was
tell like
pretty
it
good.
had seen better days, but you know, then I didn't know it was being replaced until I walked into the gym-ish thing
Yeah,
where
and then you
yeah,
see the like
yeah, you see it was right there. I was like, "Oh, that's when I realized you guys were replacing the turf."
yeah,
Eh,
was super fortunate with that.
do, how much can I ask you? How much of your work has been off the field in your what's it 4 years now? Like what how much of the work has been, yeah, I just want to make sure that whoever's part of this program is fully bought into the student athlete life and is good in the classroom, is, a service oriented. Like how much of that has been consumed you versus how much of it has been X's and O's on the whiteboard?
I am definitely majority.
Yeah.
Definitely majority. I think that was my biggest thing was, and I've said this to everyone I've recruited, whether they're at a different school or our school, or
Hmm.
the parents could probably quote me because they've heard the same thing 40 times. But I tell every student athlete that I'm recruiting, like it's about the next 40 years, not the next four. Like
Hmm.
you pick a home and then you learn. And my job is to develop you as a young man. So when you come through my door as a 18-year-old, you're big and strong as you think you'll be. When you leave at 22, you should be proud to represent the school, your family, and yourself, and chest up, shoulders back when you walk out that door. And my job is so that your parents come up to me and go, wow, he's really different. Hopefully in a good way. So yeah, I think when I started, it was let's build all of those things off the field before we can get the wins. Like, we need to have good people that are willing to have standards off the field because we're Division 3. Like, you go to get a career after this is what you do. Like,
Hmm.
that's why we're here, and hopefully teach you lessons of life through this wonderful game that we all love.
Hmm.
So yeah, we've gone and we've won the National Academic Award, that like United Soccer Coaches Award, the
Right.
last 4 years. So very grateful, and the guys have kind of taken that on their shoulders, like, oh,
Hmm.
this is a goal. And we've won the service trophy that Teal implemented the last 2 years. Like, I think we did like nearly 700 hours this past year, so like every player did about 20 hours, which is great. So I think my goal has been it's really easy on the field to say, we want to win this game, we want to do this, we want to do that. And the guy, anyone that's played is like, I can do that. Yeah, I can get a goal. It's a lot different when you're being asked that off the field. So a lot of the times I think when they strive for academics, it's whatever the family's pushing, whatever you're personally pushing. But if now me as a coach, I can say, well, you all matter and we're one cohesive unit, it's so amazing to see what anyone can do. And you have students that maybe never were pushed and now they will. And that goes for socially as well. Are you a part of clubs? Are you
Hmm.
becoming someone that you weren't before? Because that's the point of a education, a liberal arts education, in my opinion. So that's really what we've pushed. And I think, like I said, like if you do that, the results will follow. And our team's gotten better. You're just getting guys that if they're going to push themselves in every other aspect, well, doing it at the sport they love is the easiest part. Are you preparing mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically? Um, so yeah, I think most of my job has been the off the field stuff.
Yeah.
Whether it's weekly meetings or just being there for the guys, and I absolutely adore it. I love
Yeah.
it. And the X and O's part is the easy part, the part that you don't need a lot of buy-in, because the guys are, oh, cool, we can go win a
Yeah.
game.
Yeah.
That's the easiest part for me. And you can do that stuff, but if they're bought into everything else, it will just become so much easier. And that's at least what I thought. So hopefully we'll see that come to fruition.
Yeah.
But it's definitely, you can tell, just being around the program and having some people that have been around the program or some young alums, just like, oh, it's a lot different. Like there's a different feel because everyone is bought into being a Teal College men's soccer player, and it's not that doesn't encompass the field. It embodies your entire being
Yeah.
of becoming hopefully excellent. And that's what we try to push. So yeah, off the field has been definitely the majority. I think this spring was the first time we kind of like made a huge tactical shift and like tried something that like, okay, now you guys have, now let's test you here and see what
Hmm.
see what we can do. And then I think you really saw like everyone start to fire on all cylinders. Like, ooh, now we're being tested here.
Yeah.
And maybe I should have done that earlier. But I just didn't think we were ready. So yeah, like I think that's been most of my job. And now hopefully we're at a point where maybe it's more 50-50.
Hmm.
But it's at the end of the day, my job's to graduate, and
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the biggest thing is I want to win games, but I need to make sure that they're becoming successful people as well.
Yeah.
That's at least how I've always taken it.
Yeah.
So.
What is the when aside from the fact that they were hiring a therapist during COVID, if they hired you, right? Like, because that's what you ended up having to be. I think a lot of
Yeah.
coaches
Oh yeah.
have told me, like, oh yeah, I was a therapist. I became a therapist overnight. What th- this is going to sound weird, but does Teal have a mission around athletics? Like, is there? I, I don't want to, like I don't want somebody to be over top of you being like, you gotta win or you
Mhm.
gotta do this. Like, is there pressure at Teal to up the ante from a sports perspective? Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, no, that makes total sense. I think when I started, no, there wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
And that also, I think, led to some of the lack of success in at least my program as well as some others. I think at the time, I think Teal was probably just like a lot of other small Division threes is let's survive, let's keep the
Yeah.
doors open, and I think that's what it was all revolving around recruiting retention, and that's something I've never really struggled with on the recruiting side. Probably lending to me being young, I can say, hey, come on, as well as not having success, I can say, hey, you want to play? So I think that's what it was when I started. We got a new athletic director, Jason Faldis,
Mm-hmm.
last year, last fall, and we had like an envisioning like 5 year pro or basically a 5 year plan that the schools always do. Every college does that, but we did it on the athletic side as well, and I was a
Mm-hmm.
part of that. And I think that was the big push was kind of exactly what you're outlining was okay, like when can we get to the point where it's not about surviving? Like we want to thrive at some point, and like
Mm-hmm.
other coaches are all feeling that. Like our success needs to be different things. Yes, it needs to be academic. Yes, it needs to be having a roster size. But at what point is it playoff appearances, getting all conference players, like having recognition athletically? So yeah, and we're kind of in like the first to second year still of that. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, there's been a huge shift in that, and I think I've found that a lot more welcoming in terms of that's where I want to be at is
Mm-hmm.
yeah, we can have success in other things, but can we also just do it on the field? Like, we're all here to win games at the end of the day. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, that's been a big shift for us. I think it wasn't when I first started. It definitely wasn't. And I don't know if that was necessarily anyone's fault. I'm not going to point fingers or blame, but I do think that was maybe like a just an overall kind of feeling of the school.
Mm-hmm.
And we're at a decent point now with retention and recruiting as a school. So it's okay, we're healthy. Like now let's push it. So yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. As well, like just there wasn't. So
Mm-hmm.
now it's okay, we can do it. And what are some things we can do? Like, I mean, just little things. We signed a BSN contract, so we're like Nike now.
Mm-hmm.
Little things that, okay, we're going to push our professionalism. We're going to get the new gym that you would have kind of probably seen. I don't know if you went in it. You might have gone in it. The new basketball courts. Um,
I Though the building I went into, the back side or front side was in that big parking lot where the
yeah.
stadium is. So was that the gym? Because
Yeah,
the
yeah.
basketball court looked like it was just redone.
It
I
was,
didn't.
yeah. Literally everything in there is new.
Yeah,
That's only like a year old, and so then obviously like the turf. So
yeah, yeah.
these things that there weren't athletic upgrades for like a number of years, probably before I was there.
Hmm.
And now we're at the point where we're getting academic upgrades. I think you touched on that in your Field of
Yeah.
Dreams, but academic upgrade, athletic upgrade. So if you got to put money into it and put some feeling into it for the student athletes to feel that as well as the coaches.
They know it. Like I
Yeah,
hate to say it, and all the school again, all the coaches I talk to, and I try to hone in on that a little bit, like how committed is the school to athletics, and if they are, it makes a big difference, right? In terms of I'll just say the quality of the experience for student athletes. And if they're not, that's very noticeable if you're a student athlete, and it digs a little bit at the pride and all that kind,
yeah,
right? Like you're not,
yeah.
I am. You're not committed. Well, I'm not really committed to being a representative of the school, right? If you're not committed to me, then why should I be totally committed to you, right?
Yeah, you don't believe in it.
Right.
Why would I believe in it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and so that has been a flip for us. And there's little things that I've tried to implement that help with that. You know, like I don't want to wear a cotton T-shirt when we practice. You know,
Hmm.
I want to make sure we all match. Little things like that I think then we did on our side of the program that now the school is matching, and not that
Hmm.
we were like the catalyst, but
Right.
you know, so now the guys are like, okay, we've been hearing it from coach.
Hmm.
Oh, cool, the school's doing it too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, you're
Yeah.
hitting the nail on the head with that.
Yeah. I know that one, like, and this is why I asked too, because yeah, the turf was big and the gym looked, like I said, it looked new. But then you have those newer buildings
Mhm.
that are on that, I don't know which side of campus that is. Not where the baseball stadium and the
Yeah.
softball is, but on the other side, there's that big quad area. Those buildings around there. The admissions office, I got rejected, but
Yeah.
you know, that is right there. Like that, like starts to look like. I always look for that stuff. Like, how committed is the school, right? Like, you gotta. Unfortunately, at some point, you have to think about. You have to have a growth mindset, right? Like, if we care about our school, we can't just sit and rest on our laurels. We have to invest and do all these things because, to a certain extent, it's a little bit of an arms race. Like you mentioned this spring being almost like a shift tactically for you, where you're starting maybe to focus more on the on-field part. I'll just ask, if you were to look and say it's going to take me X years to sort of get there, like how close or how far do you think you are from, I'll just say, on-field success?
I mean, we're shooting for it this fall. I
Yeah,
really do think we can. Last year we had so many guys. We had like 40 guys. Um, and that's just way more than I'm used to. I think a lot of the teams in the conference have shot up, but when I was playing at Westminster, we had like 28, 29.
yeah.
I think one year we had like 35, and we were like, holy crap, there's so many people. So we had 40, and we had like a full reserve team, but we thought we'd be upperclassmen heavy, and we weren't. I think I started 7 freshmen almost every single game. There were some games
Yeah.
where I started 9,
Oof.
and that was tough. You know, you have 18-year-olds going up against 21, 22-year-olds
Hmm.
physically, emotionally, mentally, and we were competitive. And I think that's what we've been trying to do the last few years is be competitive. And I think one of the things, kind of hitting on what you talked about earlier with me being a young coach and learning, is like, I don't think I trusted those freshmen enough. I think I was fortunate enough to play a lot as a freshman in college, and I didn't know what the heck I was doing. I was just trying to, oh, I'm playing. And I think maybe I should have trusted them a little more. And we had a shift on that. So about like halfway through conference play, we hadn't found the success we thought we would, and we were sitting there. And before practice, I sat down and I said, "Okay, we're going into Grove City, who's been basically the top team, probably by win percentage, the past 15 years in the conference. They haven't had the success in terms of postseason, but ECAC, they've gone far, I think, every single year.
Hmm.
And I respect their program and Mike Dreves so much for what they do and how they play. And we were looking at it like they're in form, they've been in form, we're not. So either we're going to go in and sit in blocks and we're going to play a 3-5-2 and sit and counter, or else we're going to go and play an expansive formation and try to
Hmm.
keep the ball and play out of the back, which we've never done. And you know, I think the naivety of all the young guys was we can play, and we did. We went there and we had a draw, and I mean, our keeper played a phenomenal game, and maybe we didn't necessarily deserve it in terms of the game, but we had chances too, and
Hmm.
we held our own against Grove City at Grove City for the first time, and I think it was like 17 years. Um, so then we did that the last few games, and we ended up getting a draw at St. Vincent as well, playing that way, and we scored more goals playing that way, and we should have switched to it earlier. And you know,
Hmm.
hindsight I can say that. And I didn't maybe trust the freshmen like I should have. So going into the spring, we said, we have all these guys that played. We're excited with our recruiting class. We have some really top-notch seniors that we can depend on as players and leaders. That we have a spine up the center, and any team starts with your spine. So we didn't do that till the end of the year. Now let's just do it from the spring and see how it goes. So obviously you don't get a lot of opportunities in the spring to play other teams, but
Right.
I think just even like the vibe of how we were playing, and it's not all built on let's defend and be really hard to break down
Yeah.
and be
Yeah.
exhausted, and let's take our turn, and instead of getting 5 chances, we maybe get 12,
Yeah.
and we feel like we're in the game. And once again, it's easier to buy in when you feel that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I think we're shooting for success this fall, and I think we can. And success, I think, is relative. What's
Mhm.
success to anyone? I think you can talk to my probably athletics and our president and say, well, success is 3 wins. For us, like, we're shooting for to be the first teal team that's ever done yada yada yada. And that's
Mhm.
what we tell every recruit. We've never made playoffs. We've never been 500. I think 8 wins, which would be like about 500, would be like the
Mhm.
record. Um, I think some of our defenders are, the goals record. Some of our forwards are this, you can all outline those things like I talked about earlier, the easy ones, right?
Mhm.
But that's what we're looking for, is we're looking to be in the playoff hunt. Now there's 6 teams that can make playoffs. We're looking to be in the playoff hunt. It's whether that's 1 or whether that's 8, and we're close. That's a step. If we're even in the playoff conversation, I don't think if you asked any coach in our conference that they'd ever say that Teal would be in the playoff conversation,
Mhm.
hopefully prior to this year. So that's what I think we can do that this year. I really do. Now we're gonna still be young, but we do have some guys that I have been there for a few years that can really lead us. So
Mhm.
yeah, I think we're shooting for it this year, and I feel a lot more strongly than I would have in the past. And people that know me know that I really I say exactly what I feel and exactly what I mean. So in the past, you would have asked me, "Can you have success?" And I would have said, "Depends." Like, what do you call success?
Yeah.
But now, yeah, like we're shooting to be in the playoff hunt. We're shooting to have some wins in the conference, which just hasn't been realistic in the past.
Yeah.
So yeah,
The yeah, or be spoilers, right? Like no
yeah,
one expects if no one expects you to be a spoiler, becoming a spoiler for somebody is a big deal, right? Like it just like you said, I think I think a lot of coaches sometimes have like overreaching goals, like
Mhm.
stretch goals that you really got to stretch to achieve and then are disappointed when it doesn't happen and I think you do make incremental you, you, you do make incremental steps along the way. And yeah, if you can compete for a spot in the tournament, like I said, and be a spoiler, man, that's big progress. Especially if no one's expecting it from right, like no one's expecting it. But
Yeah, and in the PAC, it's been last year. Geneva, I think they ran the table, so they won the conference as the number 1 seed. And I think before that, it had to be like 2019, maybe.
mm-hmm,
We've had 4 seeds, 5 seeds. Even when I won as a player in 2015, we were the 4 seed. It's a new season, so just making the tournament, everything else happens from there.
yeah,
So that's kind of been our goal. And yeah, I think, yeah, being the spoiler, getting to playoffs, whether it's a home game, an away game, is a cool experience.
yeah,
So that just being able, and we just have so much parity. And like even teams that have been perennially powerhouses all of a sudden miss playoffs, or teams
yeah,
that have never had success. I mean, you saw Treg did a phenomenal job with Waynesburg last year, and they shot up. They might have been the 3rd or 4th seed, and like to a program that's probably been a little bit better than us. But I can't recollect a time that they had playoffs, and now Waynesburg was, I think, maybe hosting a game.
yeah.
So it's doable in our conference. It's definitely doable.
Where is Waynesburg? That's a dumb question. I should know this.
It's south, well south of Pittsburgh.
Oh,
It's,
okay.
I think it's south of Washington even.
Yeah.
It's really close. He gets some players from like into Maryland even.
Oh,
Um,
really? Yeah.
yeah, they're pretty low on the Pennsylvania border. I
Okay.
can't remember. I want to say Greene County, maybe.
Okay.
It's really south. That's probably our farthest trip. They have that little like southern connection. They're
Yeah.
like next to Waynesburg, Bethany,
Yeah.
Franciscan up a little bit,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
down around there south of Pittsburgh.
Where are you? Where that leads me to where do you look to recruit from? Like, what's your recruiting area? Right. Where?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's just not soccer's just not that big around here, so
Mm-hmm.
we we tend to go, but I like to recruit, and maybe this is a flaw of mine, which we haven't had success. But I like to recruit within 2.5 hours,
Mm-hmm.
because like I said, I think there's so many things to going along with not just winning on the field. So we have so many families at our games, and being able to come out of a game like you just worked your butt off, and whether
Mm-hmm.
you won or you draw or you lost, being able to see your family after, I think is so
Yeah.
important.
Yeah.
So I like to recruit within 2.5 hours. That's we've gotten a few Erie players like the last few years down into the Whitfield and Pittsburgh a little bit, and then into Cleveland. So it's like right in that kind of triangle. We're smack dab in the middle of all three.
Yeah.
We're an hour from Erie, an hour and like 20 from Pittsburgh, an hour and 20 from Cleveland. So really in that triangle.
Yeah.
I'll go out to showcases out east and stuff, but there's so many. I mean, like there's so many Division III
Oh my
schools
gosh.
in PA and into New England, and for me, what's the point if I'm from Philadelphia to travel across the entire state and pass 12 colleges that are really similar to Teal to
Yeah.
then go to Teal. And hope we've done that way. I got an FC Delco kid a few years ago, and he's loved it, and he's going to be senior. But yeah, I just don't see the realistic nature of that. And even post COVID, it seems like a lot more players are staying a little more closer to
Mm-hmm.
where they grew up. So yeah, we're kind of in that triangle of like Erie, Cleveland, Pittsburgh,
Yeah.
and then around here, like I'll go try to snag like the best player like around here. Like okay, this kid's been region player of the year. Or he's
Mm-hmm.
been all District 10. I'm gonna grab him. So yeah, it's in that triangle.
The I have a I have this thing where look, the truth of the matter is that if you can make a program compelling enough, a kid will travel. Like
Yeah,
I don't dismiss the possibility of any Division III team based on location or what have you that couldn't develop something, build something, a soccer program that would attract kids from anywhere. I go back to, and this is I just go back to a place like Messiah, which is in the middle of nowhere, and you pull up and you're like, oh my gosh, this place, literally driving through a cornfield to get to the main entrance. And then you're like, holy smokes, right? Like, and it's one of the best soccer programs over the last 15, 20 years, right? Like, and
oh, yeah,
you're like, oh, if they can do it, I come to that conclusion. If
yeah,
they can do it, like, why can't anyone else? And crazy little thesis of mine, but
yeah. I completely agree that, and that's something that I've been trying to do, and I think just it's my big thing that's a little bit different is well, you can be a part of the best teal team that's ever been. We
yeah,
go win 8 games and
yeah,
we're there. I joke with recruits like if we win a conference title, they're putting a statue of us on like the front lawn.
yeah, yeah,
There's so much land, let's do it.
yeah.
But yeah, and so that's how I've definitely gotten some interest from guys from all over Maryland.
Mm-hmm.
We have some Maryland players as well. We just haven't been able to get that final like
Yeah,
we're always in a guy's top three.
yeah,
And I think maybe if we had a little more success,
mm-hmm.
hopefully Messiah's success, but
Yeah,
even a little more success, maybe that would be
yeah,
the I'm gonna go there.
yeah, yeah,
We can get interest. We just haven't been able to nail it yet.
yeah, yeah. So, a couple more questions. What are you thinking 2024 wise for the season? What are your like you look out? I've heard your goals and whatnot, but what are you the freshmen coming in, how does it all gel for you right now, standing where you're or sitting where you're sitting?
Yeah, I think with the freshmen, we have a lot smaller of a class
Mm-hmm.
than we have in the past, but we have a really solid class. I think
Mm-hmm.
they come in and make an impact right away.
Mm-hmm.
And that once again, that's what I kind of said. We're going to be young again,
Mm-hmm.
but I think it's going to hopefully be a brand that we haven't seen before, especially at a teal. I don't necessarily think you could say, oh, the teal team's going to like pass around you and like play through you. And that's what we're going to try to do. To an extent. I say like we're going to possess with progression. I don't want my keeper to have more touches than my forward. I think that's boring.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a big like if you saw like the Sam Allardyce interview about England, I'll throw two forwards up and hoof it. I really don't care. I just want to score goals. It's way more fun. At 4-3 is way more fun than one
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
Um, but if we can have control of the match, I think the freshmen will lend into that, and we're really excited about a couple of them that can really play and attack a little more than we've had in the past. I think we have a solid base in terms of upperclassmen at the back, guys that have experience. We have some really tidy midfielders that are sophomores that can just keep a ball and retain and really play through the game here rather than necessarily with their legs, which is
Mm-hmm.
unique. And, obviously everyone wants that. But we're at the point now where some of our younger guys and the freshmen that we're bringing in can now really attack as well. I think we can be special in our one-on-ones and go. We don't have to rely on making a 2v1 just to create. We now have guys that can be in one-on-one positions and can make something happen, where in the past maybe we've had 1 to 2 guys.
Mm-hmm.
Now we might have 5 to 6 that can really play a brand of soccer that can be way more dangerous and win games rather than just compete. So I think we mesh well. The guys get along really well. This is the smallest team we've had. We're going to have 33 guys. And I'm excited about that. I think that's always been my magic number. So,
Mm-hmm.
I think it will mesh well. I think like in how we want to play, the freshmen look good. The guys are training. Yeah, I'm very excited. I think it will
Mm-hmm.
look good. So.
Why the smaller class?
We just didn't need that many.
Uh-huh.
We aren't playing as many reserve games as we did.
Mm-hmm.
I think, especially for me as a coach, like I'm very, I'm very intense. I don't think you can pick up on that through an interview, but I think like people would tell you, I'm very intense.
Mm-hmm.
I think we have to have the buy-in, and we have to want to do these things, and we have to put our foot on the gas, and so. I think it's hard to buy into that if you're playing 1 game or 2 games and you're the 30th guy. I don't know if you can necessarily have that same buy-in.
Mm-hmm.
You're
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
you're at practice and you're kind of going through it. And I've never split practices where I've said, okay, second team go over there, first team go over here. Because if we're all on the same team, we all have to contribute.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's been hard to necessarily have those guys buy in that are the 30th guy
Mm-hmm.
or if you're the 38th guy and I know I'm not going to play and I'm a junior, do I
That's
need to
hard.
give it my all? Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
human. That's human nature. I'm not going to blame anyone.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so and personally, I've just never been in that position as a player. So maybe I don't know how to motivate that guy other
Mm-hmm.
than the academics and social.
Yeah.
So some guys just kind of, they were juniors and seniors, and they said, I think I'm done after this year. So we went from 40 and then really dropped from some of those guys. And I respect the heck out of them for it. To say like, hey, my time's done with
Yeah.
soccer. So when we went to look at the recruiting class, we thought, well, we could just go and get a class of 16 and build that back up, or we could really just focus on the guys we're looking at now that can impact. So we're bringing a small class of guys that I think play. Whether that's 1 game or 15 games, who knows? But I think for any freshman, any time is nice.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so just bringing in the class that are going to impact, and we aren't going to do a full reserve schedule, and being able to just practice all together and not have guys that are maybe taking a rep
Yeah.
off because they're human, So
Yeah.
that's kind of been the keep it tighter. And if I'm going to get a full reserve team, we only have one field. If
Mhm.
I'm going to get a full reserve team, am I giving them the same exact experience that I'm giving our top player? Like, is the
Yeah.
40th player getting the same experience as the top player? And if I don't feel like I can give that because we have one field or we have limited
Yeah.
coaching staff or whatever it may be, um, I don't want to have the big team because
Yeah.
a student athlete only gets one experience, and
Yeah.
I want to make sure that they all get the best from my end. And if I can't offer that to someone, then I'm not going to expand it. So,
Yeah.
and that's been learning. It's definitely been learning. That's one of the things I've learned as a young coach is I can't. It's just not realistic if I have 50 guys to do that.
Yeah.
So,
All right, another question popped into my head, so you'll
yeah.
forgive me. Is there like you have the main the stadium,
Mhm.
and then I noticed that other part of campus across the street, and where the tennis are, and then there's that big field by those dorms. Like, is there? I mean, is there a plan to expand or maybe get a field that's more specific to soccer lacrosse?
I think
Or is it
that's
still the one stadium? One, you know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I'm not saying
So
that you have to. I mean, there's plenty.
yeah,
I'm just curious because there is, like I said, over by this baseball, like there's a lot of space, and that sort of looks, I'll just say, newish, right?
yeah,
Like, I don't know if it's new,
yeah.
but
The track's only like 3 years old,
yeah,
so and they just put in a press box, bleachers, and a scoreboard.
yeah,
But I mean, we don't necessarily play sports down there. So
yeah. Oh, okay, yeah,
baseball, softball, right? We have
yeah,
track.
yeah,
I didn't run track, so I don't know if you need a scoreboard, but
yeah,
maybe I'm the alien on that.
yeah,
But yeah, I think that spot. So in between the dorms, that's like a nice little quad area
yeah,
where they have band practice sometimes, but
uh-huh.
they have like so many different things. There's student
Yeah,
events. But down in the track, in the middle of the track, there's
uh-huh.
just grass. And
Yeah,
I think there's been a lot of um, in the future, like thoughts, discussion on like, could we make that into something?
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
so at the current time, like at least for fall of 2024, no, we're
yeah,
just gonna.
yeah, yeah. No, I get that. Yeah,
But yeah, I mean, if I had money right now, I would say to the school like, let's turf this. Let's
yeah,
make it a soccer lacrosse specific.
yeah,
More fields, the better. It lends to that experience that I kind
yeah.
of hit on, and like you saw Westminster getting theirs, and Franciscan has one now, and they don't have football, but they have this beautiful facility up.
Oh yeah, I've been
Yeah,
there.
yeah, it's gorgeous up on that
Yeah.
hill.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
And then Grove City has theirs, and I mean
Yep.
even Geneva. I love that grass field they have. We haven't played there in a few years,
Yeah.
but having that grass field down there. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's definitely been. I've mentioned it at least. Like,
Yeah.
hey,
Yeah.
what if we just rolled it and had a grass field or
Yeah.
lights? So
Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
I
Ah,
think it's definitely a thought. Yeah,
I was just more curious again because you got it. It's just so much bigger than I realized. Again,
yeah,
same thing. I don't know what I was expecting, but it was so much
yeah.
bigger. The footprint is just so much bigger than I realized.
Yeah, and we own like all of the woods back behind. Like you saw the graveyard on the side of
Yeah.
the.
Yeah. Yeah. The graveyard
We
on the side.
yeah,
Yep.
that's not ours.
Yeah. But
But
then over, like up the hill,
behind.
like
Yep.
behind, yeah, all of that's yours as well. Yeah.
Yeah, and they do a lot of like biology department does a lot
Yeah.
of stuff back there,
Yeah.
real hands-on stuff. But
Yeah.
yeah, there's just so much land that you don't
Yeah.
realize. It's same with Westminster. When we were at Westminster, they would say, out at the bio department, like in the woods, and we'd be like,
Yeah.
huh? Like there's
Yeah.
woods back there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's the same thing with teal. There's just so much land that you don't
Yeah.
realize.
Yeah. All right. Last question for you. This is your chance. Guys watching right now because I'm such the YouTube influencer and everybody knows SimpleCoach. Um, why teal?
Yeah, I think I kind of hit on it earlier, along with the soccer department. Is like you could be a team of firsts.
Mm,
I was very grateful to go to Westminster and have success as a player, and then when I coached there for the year, and we won the conference, and I was so grateful for that. But I think to be a part of a team that wins their first conference title, or is the first team to make playoffs, is just so much different. And I think a lot of guys will experience that with their high school, maybe where we were the first team since 1980 to do this. But yeah, just to be a part of a team of firsts, I think is so unique. And maybe guys have experienced that in their high school or club, and that they were the first team to go to regionals or first team to make states. To be a team of first, I think, is really unique. I think that's what we've been able to do off the field is, hey, we're the first team to win the academic, or hey, you're the first player to get academic all district, or whatever. I think that's been the big thing for us, and I think we have a family, and I don't think that's unique to us. I think every team can have a family in some way, or a brotherhood in some way, or you're a part of something that's bigger than you, and I don't think that's unique to us, and I'm not going to act like it is. But I think to be a part of a team that does something on the field for the first time is unique. And then I always say, like, if I ever feel like I'm not a car salesman, right? Like, if I'm recruiting and I ever feel like I'm selling something, that's just not me. I have to be genuine and I have to be authentic. If I'm ever saying something that's fake or I'm selling it, then what am I doing? So you're gonna be around people that are genuine and authentic, in a campus that cares about you, and I think that's special. And like I said, it's about, at the beginning of the video, it's about the next 4 years. It's not about the next four. It's about the next 40 years, not the next four. You're gonna make a lot of memories, and you're gonna make a lot of mistakes, and you're gonna become who you are through these next 4 years that will propel you to the next 40. But I think on the soccer side, we can be a team that's been the first team to do this and do that, and I think that's just so unique, and that's why I'm there. It's wholeheartedly why I'm there. And I think if you asked every single player on our team, they'd say, "Oh, I like this about campus," or "It had my major." But at the end of the day, it's going to be, we could be a special team for the first time ever, and that's just so unique and so special, and it's something that can propel you, hopefully. So that would be my little pitch. Yeah.
All right.
So
I'm going to make a commercial of this.
Yeah. Yeah. You'll get a better face.
Yeah. We'll hire somebody. Don't worry. We'll dub voiceover nowadays with AI. It's all
good. We can figure something better.
All right, Coach. Thank you very much. This was fantastic. Really do appreciate it. I wish you and your men all the best. Like, keep cracking. You'll break the code at some point. So I'll be watching you this fall and be cheering you guys on from afar. That's for sure.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you. I do talk a lot, so I appreciate you just letting me ramble on tangent here and tangent there. So.
What did I say? There are no rules, and I love just talking about the game. So, and hearing about the game. So, to me, this was gold. So.
Yeah, thank you. Hopefully, we can do a follow up when it's more soccer.
Next time. The rookie sessions are a lot like this, like just trying to figure out the different, how it looks and what's it like on the inside. Once you get back on, rookie status is gone. Now we talk real deep soccer.
Get into the meat of it.
Yeah, where it matters. So, but anyhow, thank you. Best of luck to you, and hopefully, I will definitely have to make my way out there at some point. Hopefully, when there's a game.
Yeah.
A little watch.
Yeah, we'd love to have you. Thank you so much for having me. And I will make sure that you'll have a teal scarf or hat.
Oh, nice. You know what? The damn bookstore. What is it? Don't people know that I am coming to the school? Like, keep it open. I'm a guaranteed $20. Hopefully. Usually it's 30. But I'm a guaranteed $20 for these places. And you would think that they would stay open, but no. On that entire road trip, by the way, you were 3 of 4. I think you were 3 of 4 or 2 of 4. I can't remember. On this trip that I had to do for work, all of them were closed. Granted, yours was like 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock in the evening. I can't remember. It was late, but anyhow. But yeah, that'd be great.
Anyhow. Yeah, of course. So I'll make sure they expand the hours just in case.
Just tell them. Look, when this guy shows up, it's better be bad press. All right, Coach. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Take care.